we can start with podcast favorite Russell Wilson. I know you're one of your favorite players of all time.
Oh boy.
I will give you the
Indeed.
floor as your kind of, you want to give me the 30,000 foot Tim view on Russell, or Danger Russ Wilson, or whatever we're calling him, Mr. Unlimited, and your thoughts on the coverage of him versus perhaps
Mr. Unlimited, Robot Russell, Danger Russ.
No one has ever said
my favorite Lion Heart.
Robot Russell. No one's ever said Robot Russell ever. It's on Pro Football Reference, I think, right?
I just want you to know it's on his Pro Football Reference page. Robot Russell. Yeah, I don't know where that's from. But anyhow, Robot Russell, my favorite Russell Wilson, that's his name. My favorite Russell Wilson stats of all time, though, are when you compare him to other players and you go, wait, what? Huh? Because sometimes I think we get like these counting stats, they add up to say he's thrown for 42,000 yards. That I have no, is that a lot? Is that not a lot? How many is that? He is a interesting quarterback. He is definitely a system quarterback, though we've just noted that's not necessarily a bad thing. What is Russell Wilson's system? Russell Wilson's system is turn around and hand the ball to the other guy, turn around and hand the ball to the other guy, turn around and hand the ball to the other guy. And then when you finally start tackling that guy, he throws the ball to the guy running behind you. And so he's deep ball specialist. Not many of those in NFL history, really, who don't have an intermediate game, really, don't have a short game. He is a deep ball guy. He throws the ball a long way, incredibly accurately. He might be the best deep ball ever. But that's it. That's it. And so, just bear with me. All right.
Yeah,
so
I hear you. He's got a fantastic
the
deep ball.
challenge.
No question about it.
He does. The challenge with Russ is if you look at games his team has played in where he does more of the work, they tend to lose. And that's not the right direction for a quarterback that's driving the bus. When he was talking his way out of Seattle, right? The last couple of years he was in Seattle. Let Russ cook, blah, 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 blah. Stop it. When they let Russ cook, they lost football games. And Russ is also proof in the pudding of my number one least favorite thing about quarterbacks who have success early in their careers. And you could talk about Carson Wentz. You could talk about Deshaun Watson. You could talk about, even Joe Flacco in his little runs there. Once you have had a run, especially if you are on a team that wins a Super Bowl, and I'm very careful not to say you win a Super Bowl because
yes, good save.
When the Seattle Seahawks were winning Super Bowls, had nothing to do with what Russell Wilson was doing other than he wasn't losing the game. Just like, to be fair, Ben Roethlisberger had nothing to do with the Steelers winning their first Super Bowl, except for he wasn't losing the game. And so at the end of the day, he got branded as one of these guys. He got a ton of endorsement deals. They won a Super Bowl. They went back to another Super Bowl the next year. You thought, the second coming of Jesus, or at least that's what he would have you believe if you listen to his commentary after the Super Bowl loss. He is just a guy. If you look at his statistics year over year and you compare them with Ryan Tannehill, save for about 15 rushing yards a game, they're almost the same. It's shocking how he is not a guy that's gone out there and done anything. But because early in his career, he had this success with, if not the best, one of the best defenses in the history of the NFL, he would never be in the conversation as a top quarterback. He's getting the accolades. He's got the Pro Bowls because he's in that bucket, but he's never been the guy driving that bus. And if I could defend Russell Wilson for a minute, he's not too different a guy than he was 5 years ago, but he's being asked to do a very different thing, and it's a thing he's not good at doing. And now everybody says, Russell Wilson sucks. No, Russell Wilson's the same sucky quarterback he was in Seattle. But Seattle built a system around him and said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to bring in 1,000 running backs and a good offensive line, and we're going to ground and pound and let Russell Wilson run around and throw a ridiculous Hail Mary bomb to the back corner of the end zone. And we're going to have one of our great wide receivers tiptoe on the back corner and catch it falling out of bounds. Russell Wilson is the number one quarterback for, I've thrown 4 interceptions today. almost cost us the game. Maybe I can throw a touchdown pass in the last drive to win it, and all we ever remember is the end. And it's done a disservice to him as a player. It's done a disservice to the teammates that he's played with. And frankly, it's put him in the position he's in now to be thought of as less successful than he might have otherwise if he didn't push so hard to be thought of as the guy who was driving the bus. That's my Russell Wilson. I don't know what you think.
No, I think broadly speaking, you're right, Tim. And I think you hit on the right thing at the top, which is this is a guy who's had a lot of success in the NFL, right? You and I are not pro Russell Wilson. He's the great quarterback. He's a Hall of Famer, which a lot of the media infrastructure, shall we say, is a fan of. He's had a ton of success. He's had more success than 90% of NFL quarterbacks are ever going to have, right? And he has a skill set. And his skill set is he's got a phenomenally good feel, accuracy, power, whatever you want to call it, on the deep pass. He's mobile, maybe not as much as he used to be, but he can get outside the pocket. He can improvise. He can create these kind of wow splash plays, which look great on the highlights. And he doesn't turn the ball over. They're three, and those are three fantastic attributes to have in a quarterback, by the way. That's three great things to have. The issue is he did get branded early as a winner, and he is one of the last guys that this is true of, because I really feel like wins have died out in the same way that, for those who don't watch baseball, that used to be, pitcher wins. Brock Purdy. Huge thing. Yeah, but anyway, we can get to Brock Purdy in a second. But Russell Wilson he's a winner. He plays winning football. So even when he doesn't play very well, then they win. Well, he's a winner, and it's the clutch gene, and it's all these like terrible sports talky, cliche bullshit things which are thrown at someone unfairly, both to the team he plays for, as you say, to the coaching staff, because I think Pete Carroll didn't get anywhere near as much credit as he could have. They kept churning offensive coordinators to try and get more out of Wilson and change it. They then went. Do
you know he's one of the oldest coaches in the NFL?
It worked.
Luke,
that's going to come up every week. But he's a QB wins guy, which it just annoys me because it's like it's not an accurate way to evaluate any player, even the quarterback. It's a structure, it's a team, and the Seahawks built a great system around him, and he excelled in that system. He played well in that system. There's nothing wrong with that. But his career is a story of being timely, being accurate with your timely plays, and don't be Aaron Rodgers. He's never been Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. And he had that almost foisted upon him. And don't get me wrong, he embraced it because that's his personality, whatever. He's confident. That's what you want. He's never been that guy. And I've looked at some statistics around this to back it up, right? Because I thought I knew you were going to shit on Russell Wilson. I probably would too. So I thought I'd be fair, right? Let's look at his statistical, performance. So this year, the Denver Broncos are on this hot streak, right? Russell Wilson's back, blah, blah, blah. What Sean Payton has done is go back to the system in Seattle that worked well when Russell Wilson was leading a team that was winning games, which is you run the ball and you're timely. Russell Wilson's attempted 30 or more passes 5 times this season. Denver has won one of those games. And that was the game that they just played against the Vikings. They've won one, they lost the other 4. They're 5-1 when he throws under 30 passes. Maybe there's a secret. So I thought, why don't we look at Russell Wilson's career? Russell Wilson's career is 183 games at this point. 94 games, he's thrown fewer than 30 passes. He's won 76% of those games, 71-23, which is great by any stretch of the imagination. If we want to use QB wins, right? Because we're QB wins. So 76% of the games that he's played when he's attempted fewer than 30 passes, the team has won. In the 98 games that he's attempted more than, I think my math's off by 1, but whatever, you get the idea, 99 games. He's won 49% of them. So if he attempts more passes, he loses more games. Now, I thought this would be interesting because we think about it logically, right? If you're winning a game, you don't need to throw as much because you already have the lead. You run, you want to control the clock. It's a different type of game. So in the interest of fairness, I looked at a quarterback by the name of Tom Brady. Tom Brady.
Oh, he's pretty good.
Pretty good. Won a lot of games on some very good teams, had some very good defenses, had a great coach. A lot of similarities apart from the obvious, which is Tom Brady's a lot better. Tom Brady in his career had only 93 games where he threw fewer than 30 passes, and he played for 23 years. So Russell Wilson's already played more games in which he's attempted fewer than 30 passes than Tom Brady had his entire career. Sorry, he's played one more. So he's played one more game in which he's attempted 30 or fewer passes than Tom Brady had in his 23-year career. Tom Brady won 81% of the games that he threw under 30 passes, 30 or fewer. He won 73% of the games he threw for more than 30 attempts. So he played 251 games where he had 30 or more attempts, and he won 73% of those. He had 93 games where he threw fewer than 30 times, and he won 81% of those. So he won more, but he still won a lot of games when he threw the ball more. And the reason I used attempts is that shows you how much responsibility he's really bearing. You can use yards. Yards can be misleading, right? You can have a guy throw for 400 yards in a loss. You can have garbage time. Yards don't win you games. And Russell Wilson's thrown for a lot of touchdowns. Don't get me wrong. That's one of the great things about his career, statistically speaking, is the touchdown count and the low interception rate. But he's not been at his best when he throws the ball a lot. So, that kind of bears out what you were saying. So statistically speaking, if you're going to use wins as the metric, which is what Russell Wilson's kind of legacy is based upon, the legacy, when it's unpacked, shows you that the more attempts he has, the fewer games he wins relative. And I thought under 500, when you throw more than 30 passes, for a guy who is being touted as a Hall of Famer, is not good. Like, that shouldn't really happen, because if you're playing that well and you're a winner, you should win more games than that.
Yep. No, I completely agree. And I was looking up other quarterbacks too. Tom Brady is obviously one. You think about more prolific passers of the football, the guys like Peyton Manning, very similar story, right? Certainly. And I want people to know, Luke and I aren't stupid. We understand that a team that is throwing the ball more is doing so for a reason. And maybe that's because they're behind. And maybe, so you're going to generally have a worse record when there are more pass attempts. That's true regardless of who your quarterback is, but it's the gap between those two. It's when your team needs you to go ham. Is that good or is that bad? And in Russell Wilson's case, there's actually, you can see games where they didn't need him to go ham, where the game was not they weren't trailing by 6 touchdowns. The game was close the whole time. And for whatever reason, they kept going back to that well, and he would throw a pick. He would get the strip sack. He would he was not the key to winning football for that franchise. And so, listen, we beat up on Russell Wilson. He's obviously pretty good at doing what he does, or he wouldn't be allowed to do it anymore. He's obviously incredibly overpaid in Denver, and they're going to have to deal with that for a long time.